Hi, everyone. I'm Robin Phillips. I'm the Executive Director of the Advocates for Human Rights. Thank you so much for joining us. We're excited to have you here, and we're especially delighted to welcome our former clients and volunteer attorneys who are speaking tonight. As many of you know, the last few years have been hard with the almost daily attacks on immigration that hurt asylum seekers. But with your support, our team of staff and volunteers have adapted to every new challenge and new regulation. But tonight we'll celebrate victories together and give each other the strength we need to keep going. Before we get started, I'd like to point out a few things. You may have already noticed the chat function. Thank you, whoever's using it. Please use that function to introduce yourself and chat with each other during the event. After we hear from all of our speakers, we'll go into breakout rooms for deeper discussion on immigration topics. There will be program staff in each of the rooms ready to answer questions and guide the conversation. Also, the silent auction to support immigrants' rights is still open. Bidding closes at 8:30, so make sure you check it out, bid, and win your favorite item. The link to the auction will be in the chat. All of these items are connected to our clients' countries of origin, and all of the funds raised will support our work. And finally, this is a fundraiser. It will support access to legal representation for indigent asylum seekers and trafficking victims and to protect their rights. You can donate securely and conveniently by texting advocates to 243-725. Again, text advocates to 243-725. And your impact will go further tonight. We have a generous matching donation of up to $15,000. Your donations will be matched 1-to-1. Now it's my pleasure to introduce my colleague, Sarah Brenes, who directs our Refugee and Immigrant program. Sarah?
Thank you so much, Robin. And just echoing Robin's thanks to Nyland Johnson for hosting us, and a special thanks to all of our co-hosts who are joining us and bringing your friends. With over 150 people who've registered for this event, we're just overjoyed to see so many faces here on the screen tonight. If anything has sustained us during this challenging year, it's been the encouragement in seeing volunteers and supporters that just continue to show up and to step in. I see many friends, clients, and volunteers on the tiles. Many of you are intimately familiar with our work. But before we jump into our panel, I'd like to share a little bit more about the Refugee and Immigrant program and what we're about, which I think can be summed up in 3 words: service, support, and success. We've served over 3,300 immigrants in the last year through client representation, referrals, and Know Your Rights presentations for those living in the Upper Midwest, as well as helping callers to our National Asylum Helpline. We've engaged over 3,000 volunteers and supporters through trainings, educational events on immigration, and in direct support on pro bono cases. And as we know, success. Having an attorney increases your chances of success in immigration proceedings tenfold. That has proven true for many of our clients. We've consistently maintained a 75% or greater grant rate, despite these challenging times we live in, and despite having our local judges hovering around a 25% grant rate in asylum claims. One case you might be familiar with that we've shared via social media is the case of Araceli. A mother from Guatemala who fled domestic violence was reunited with her children this year. This slide represents the many volunteers who had a hand in that victory, including one of our co-hosts tonight, Ellen Young. We're proud of our service to our clients, fighting for cases to secure asylum, safety and security from human trafficking, and release from immigration detention. We also see our work as service to the community, because securing immigration status gives our clients the confidence to participate fully in their new home, which is better for all of us. We're in this together. We support volunteer attorneys jumping in the deep end on something entirely outside of their field of practice, like Amanda Bloomgrim, a family law attorney who we'll be hearing from later tonight. The asylum case she took through the advocates was the first one she ever handled, but she said will not be her last. We also support our clients holistically by connecting them with resources to meet their basic needs, or equipping them with the tools to continue to raise their voices on human rights issues that are important to them. We also count on supporters like you to fund our work so we can continue to say yes to clients like Nemo, whom you'll also hear from tonight in the panel. Originally from Kenya, Nemo was committed to the integrity of the election system in her home country. She agreed to testify about the fraud and voter suppression that she witnessed while acting as a poll observer. It nearly cost her her life. But with the help of the advocates and her volunteer attorney, Amanda, she received asylum and now is awaiting to be reunited with her children. There is no better way to validate our work than to celebrate successes. And there's no sweeter success than seeing your client walk out of immigration detention after an immigration judge grants his case. Volunteer attorneys Nicole and Bill will share during the panel just what that felt like after they helped Miguel, a political activist from Venezuela, secure asylum and see him released from immigration custody after 7 months. We are grateful to count on hundreds of volunteers to reach thousands of clients each year. There, of course, would be no way we could support all these volunteers and clients without a stellar team of attorneys and support staff. The Refugee and Immigrant program has grown over the past few years, and I could be no more thankful or proud to have these individuals as my colleagues. We're so proud of the work that we've done, helping so many clients in the Upper Midwest. Though our dream, of course, is to ensure that geography not be a barrier to anyone seeking help. We're constantly looking for ways to reach and support asylum seekers in areas where legal services are scarce, but where our clients, with our help and your support, can safely call home. Again, thank you, Nyland Johnson, for hosting this virtual event tonight. I'll now turn it over to one of our volunteer attorneys and chairholder at Nyland Johnson, Bill Hitler.
All right, much better. Everybody can hear me now? Thank you. Good evening, and thank you for participating in this virtual event. During this challenging year amidst the pandemic and the endless changes in immigration regulations, it is wonderful to come together as a community and celebrate positive stories, victories of asylum granted after long-fought battles, brief resting points in the ongoing march towards a fairer and more just immigration system. I've been fortunate to be a volunteer with the advocates for 4 years, along with many of my colleagues. It has been a deeply rewarding and great privilege to represent several asylum seekers, both unaccompanied minors and also detained individuals such as Miguel, who was hoping to be here tonight, but has a conflict. So Nicole and I will have to speak for him. All of us participating in the event tonight support the right of every single person in this world to seek and enjoy asylum from persecution in other countries. People requesting asylum are human beings who cannot or will not return to their country of origin due to a well-founded fear of being persecuted by reason of race, religion, nationality, membership in a particular social group, or political opinion. Asylum seekers are some of the most vulnerable members of our community. They migrate under unsafe conditions that put them at risk of becoming victims of trafficking, the second largest and fastest growing criminal industry in the world. And when they are asking for asylum, they are thrown into a bewildering legal system without the right of representation by a legal professional. We can change that. Together with the advocates for human rights, you and I can provide access to legal representation to every asylum seeker in the Upper Midwest. And we can advocate for a more just immigration system. All it takes is you and me. And one thing I've learned is that every case makes a difference. Every step, every pleading, every position we take in front of the court makes a difference. How do we do this? We do it by becoming pro bono lawyers for an asylum seeker. We can do so by interpreting or translating documents. We can do so by volunteering as an immigration court observer and monitoring proceedings. We can do so by joining the Asylum Support Network and mentoring an asylum seeker. And we can also do it so by supporting the advocates with a financial gift. Donating is the easiest part of the process here. Donations to the advocates have a great impact. Every dollar donated provides $10 of services in our community. That's the best return on investment I know. Your donation of $1,000 provides access to legal representation to one asylum seeker. If you can afford to give more, consider providing legal representation for multiple members of a single family. Your donation of $500 provides a lifeline to victims of trafficking and detained immigrants through the National Immigration Hotline. If you can afford that, consider providing one Know Your Rights seminar at $100. Just a couple of additional thoughts. Each and every dollar, just like each and every moment that we spend working with asylum applicants, makes a difference. Best of all, every gift will be multiplied due to the multiple matching gifts we have received. Our hope is to raise $30,000 tonight, and we hope you can help us achieve that goal. As mentioned earlier, donating is very simple. Just text advocates to 243-725 on your phone or mail a check. Please join me in making the Upper Midwest a place where every asylum seeker has access to legal representation. Every detained immigrant knows their rights. Immigrant children are reunited with their caregivers, trafficking victims find safety, and the immigration system is just. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Bill. We are now grateful to be joined by a panel of participants and practitioners in the asylum system, clients, and volunteer attorneys. Each asylum seeker's experience is unique, and we're thankful that Nemo's here with her pro bono attorney, Amanda, to share a bit about her experience going through the affirmative asylum process. We also have Nicole and Bill from Nyland Johnson. They represented Miguel, who's unable to join us tonight, but while Miguel was detained in removal proceedings before the immigration court, they represented him. Thank you all for joining us and for all of your work as human rights advocates. And with that, I'll turn it over to Amanda to start us off.
Good evening, everyone. First, I want to introduce you to Nemo Hassan, who was my first and definitely not last asylum client. Nemo, it's great to see you here today. Can you first share with the group what led you to the advocates?
Hi, everyone. My name is Nemo Hassan, and I am a client, and I learned about advocates of human rights while I was riding an Uber. There was a client, he was, the driver was also a client of advocates of human rights, and he won his case too. So we just started talking, and he just said, "Hi, what's your name? Where are you from?" "I'm from Africa, I'm from Kenya." He said, "I'm from Ethiopia. My name is Abdul Hakim." And then he told me, "How did you come here? What are you coming?" I said, "I just came to visit, but I'm not planning to go back." So he said, how will you remain here if you don't have your, like, you are not legally a citizen or a permanent resident here? So I said, "I'm planning to file for asylum, but I don't know, I'm confused, I don't know where to start, and everything is messed up." So I think I needed to talk to someone, so I just openly tell him my story, and he said, "Oh, I'm so sorry." And he said, "I can help you. I was helped by people, and I know if you go there, maybe they can help you too if you're lucky." So he gave me the address and the telephone number of advocates of human rights. So he told me, "Don't lose hope, keep on calling, because these people are very busy and they have a lot of clients. Keep on calling, keep on calling." So I called them for about 2 months. I did not lose hope. And one day someone just picked up the call, and I started telling them my story, and that's how they took my case. Hey, Amanda. And why did you decide to take my case as a volunteer?
Well, in hindsight, Nemo, I didn't know how much it was going to change my life, but the practical reality, this is a confession to about 100 strangers in a room. I am that typical progressive suburban white lady. I do a lot of being absolutely horrified by what I see in the news, absolutely horrified by everything going on around me. And about the only action I end up taking is retweeting things or maybe donating the value of what my 1 cup of Starbucks is a day. And that was getting really uncomfortable for me, especially as I was seeing my colleagues take action when the changes started happening on the border and with the changes with allowing individuals into the United States in the last couple of years. And I didn't know what to do. And I saw someone who I knew, I can't even remember who it is now, posted a kind of challenge to reach out to the advocates and to volunteer. And I took the step to do that. I saw in the one of the attendees here tonight, I see is Professor Wiebe from St. Thomas. Professor, I'll admit, I did not take your class. I was not in your clinic. I knew nothing about immigration, but still decided to take the leap and volunteer, and I'm so glad that I did. A more direct answer to you, Nemo, I ended up taking your case because of the fact that I don't speak another language and you're fluent in English, so that made the process a bit easier. And I know Nicole will speak about that a little bit more, but it was really good. It was interesting to see that there was the ability to help even though I didn't have that language barrier. And I'm so glad that I took your case and was able to help you. With Nicole, I haven't seen you yet out there, but I know you're out there. Can you kind of answer the same question I did about what led you to your involvement with the advocates?
Sure. Good evening, everyone. And hi, Amanda. I see you, but it's a little weird that you don't see me. I must be on another screen. I mean, I decided to volunteer with the advocates because immigration has always been an issue that's been very personal to me. My parents are immigrants. I have extended family that dealt with immigration issues for many years, trying to get legal status here. So it's something that I've always wanted to become involved in, but due to my prior jobs in the federal government as an attorney, I was often conflicted out of being able to do this kind of work. So I was happy to come to Minneapolis and join Nyland Johnson Lewis and learn that the firm had a very long-standing and strong relationship with the advocates. And I feel very fortunate to have been able to finally, as Amanda said, contribute to what I see as a growing problem with the current administration and just with the status of immigration law in this country and in finding a way to fix it. So this is a very small way to do that by taking these cases because we can't fix everything with one case, but I'm really glad that we have the opportunity to at least try to help and fix the system. So I'm going to, oh, go ahead.
One quick question. What was your experience with the language barrier? Do you speak Spanish?
No, so I speak very little Spanish, so it's not anything that would be sufficient to give someone legal advice in. I guess we'll put it that way. I don't speak Spanish. Bill speaks, I think, a little bit, but neither of us is super fluent. So in representing Miguel, we had help, luckily, from a colleague of ours who's also an attorney who speaks Spanish fluently, and with a volunteer translator that we met through Bill, who was kind enough to kind of be our backup and also our second set of ears if we needed someone else. So that was helpful as well.
And my understanding is the advocates, if you didn't have those resources, do have kind of an attorney list and try to set attorneys up with volunteers if we can't find someone. So it's nice to have that, and I'm hoping maybe I can take the leap and take a client where I'm working on the translation part of things in the future.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the advocates have really great resources in terms of finding, at least connecting you with someone who can serve as a translator more on a full-time basis if that's what you need. Otherwise, I believe there's a panel of student volunteers as well as other volunteers who are willing to give their time to kind of translation projects as opposed to being staffed on a case, which is always really helpful too. Okay, so I'm going to turn back to Nemo, and ask you, what did you expect when you applied for asylum? And then how was that different from what actually happened in your case?
When I applied for asylum, I was expecting to stay like, I think, a long time, like maybe 10 years, 5 years, so that they can approve my case. And I was just thinking negative. I was saying, people are telling me, you from Kenya, and Kenya, there is no war and all that. They will return you back. So I was just expecting to be returned back or to be rejected, my asylum case to be rejected. But surprisingly, and up to today, I don't believe it, because they approved my asylum in 4 months. And I guess I was very lucky. By the help of Sarah, Advocates of Human Rights, and Amanda, I call her the best lawyer in the town. That's what I call her. People, when they ask me, who was your lawyer? I say, she's called Amanda. She's very nice. She's the best lawyer I ever known. So I am so happy. It came as a surprise to me. I don't know what to say. Sometimes even I just think, am I dreaming, or is this really happening? So thank you, everyone. Thank you, Advocate for Human Rights, for helping me, for welcoming me, for giving me hope. And now I know I have a bright future in front of me, my kids. And when they come here, I have a daughter. I know that many things will not happen to her when she comes here. So thank you very much, Advocate for Human Rights. And I promise, and I'll be a better citizen, and I'm ready to help in any way I can, and giving back to the community. And Amanda, I have a question for you. I've been wondering, what did you learn when you were representing me?
Nemo, the list is endless. I could go on for a long time. I think from a practical perspective, one of the things that I really want to share back out to the community and people who are possibly considering volunteering is what a wonderful set of support the Advocates provides to volunteers. I really did walk into this volunteer experience blindly. As I said, I never even took immigration law in law school, so I didn't know what I was getting into. It was a big learning curve, and that was scary. That being said, I really felt incredibly well supported by the staff at the Advocates. Some of you will laugh about this, but probably up until working with Nemo, the last country condition report that I wrote was probably on a poster board in like 3rd grade, and talked about the agriculture in whatever country I had selected. It was certainly nothing like the exhaustive report that I had to work with Nemo on. I also really learned what a collaborative process this was. My background's family law, and I do a lot of collaboration with my clients in my family law work. I felt that same experience in working with you, Nemo. And lastly, I really can't express how much I learned about just the general kind of cultural exchange with you, Nemo. I started this talking about my progressive white lady syndrome, and the reality is that's very true for me. I live in Waconia. I frankly, Nemo, at this point in my life, I would consider you probably my only Muslim friend. And that has to do with the community that it's hard for me to break out of the community that I'm in. And it was such a great experience to learn from you. And when we were working together on getting paperwork together, just learning about each other's culture and experience for the group. My family is Jewish, and so it was really kind of cool to talk with Nemo about her religious experiences, and me talk about mine with my family. So that was a great, that was one of the best parts of this entire experience, and I appreciate the opportunity. And Nemo, we haven't been able to get together since the pandemic, but I'm definitely looking forward to it. Nicole, I know that Miguel, who wasn't able to be here, his situation was much different because he was detained. Can you share with the group kind of what the experience was like working with Miguel, and what you understood his experience to be throughout the process?
Sure. So yes, as Amanda said, and I think as has been mentioned earlier, Miguel was detained while he was here in Minnesota. So he, I think, arrived in Texas and then was eventually shipped up here, but otherwise has no connection to this state. But it seems like Sherburne County was the only place that had room for him, and I think that's why he ended up there. So that was a unique experience in that I mean, my background right now in the practice that I do is labor and employment law. So I do just civil cases, and I've never even, visited a criminal client in court in another capacity. So, um, it was very difficult to have to plan logistically about how we were going to meet with Miguel because we couldn't just call him into our office or call him on the phone even. So we had to, the whole team had to go up there in person. And then of course there was the language barrier. So we had to make sure we had a translator, whether that was our colleague or somebody else. And we had to make sure that we allotted enough time to meet with him that were, the time that was allotted for attorney visitations and his own, how much he could handle at the time, depending on what we were discussing. And it was a very kind of sad and disheartening experience to go up to the jail there, just because, you never see your client as a criminal at all, but he's, he comes out in an orange jumpsuit with shackles on, and he's escorted by guards every time he comes to see you. And it's just really sad because that he is not dangerous in any way, is he's not going to try to sneak something in or try to take something out. And so that's a very hard experience, but I think it was much easier for us because and I don't know how he stayed so positive, but he managed to. So we tried to mirror that and put on our best kind of encouraging faces for him and use our time effectively. So it was a tough experience, but I'm glad that we were exposed to it, and it definitely makes you feel more empathetic for what people are going through when they're in detention. Of course, everyone's experience is different, but I don't think that's what Miguel was expecting when he came here. So I'm sure he's happy to be out.
Nicole, I haven't shared yet, but working with Nemo this year last year was probably one of the professional highlights of my career, and I know that you kind of said so similarly with working with Miguel. That being said, the experience for you must have been, we just got a piece of paper in the mail that said Nemo was granted asylum. Can you and Bill maybe share what that experience was like when you found out that Miguel would be released?
Yeah, of course. So since Miguel was detained, we needed to have a hearing in immigration court to determine whether he would get asylum. There were a lot of challenges with that hearing and just kind of being in a very unfamiliar court situation that neither Bill or I have much experience in at all. But we really appreciate the advocates' help and support. And I think Allison Griffith was pretty much our phone a friend every time we needed something. So I really appreciate that she always took our calls and answered all our emails really promptly. So that, they were instrumental in helping us prepare, of course. And so when we finally, when we were sitting in the courtroom, the judge was reading his ruling, and it was unclear at that point which way he was going to go, because he was highlighting both, what he understood about Miguel's case, but then also the problems that he saw with it or his doubts. But in the end, he did say that Miguel got asylum, and we were all really surprised, but of course really excited. And we asked the judge to, clarify his ruling just to make sure that we all understood and that no one was in the dark. But when we got the confirmation that he got asylum, everyone was very happy. I remember that Miguel started crying at council table there, and it was so moving to see that he finally, after so long and after everything that he had gone through, got what he wanted. And that was definitely, I consider that a great accomplishment and one of the biggest highlights of my professional career, for sure. And I'm so happy that we were able to help him and finally get him the life that he deserves. And Bill, I'm sure you have some perspective too as to what happened once he left the courthouse.
Right.
Yeah.
I have some perspective. Just to add to the maybe the drama, the hearing that was originally scheduled was ended up being postponed. The judge had arranged, or the Sherburne County officials in charge of transportation had opted to have Miguel appear by video, which we weren't prepared for, meaning we had expected him to be there in person, but because of some technical issues, the judge moved the hearing date, which meant that our colleague Pablo, who was our lead, wasn't able to be there. But what it allowed Miguel to do was establish a rapport with the judge. At one point, after Nicole had completed her examination, which was the bulk of the testimony, the judge essentially became the questioner. The judge wanted to know from Miguel details, none of which we really had practiced too much. And Miguel turned around in his chair and really had a very polite but very passionate discussion with the judge, which likely contributed to the result. Katie Blanchard, who was our translator extraordinaire and helped us advise Miguel during the trial when there was a break. And I had a chance to meet Miguel when he first came outside. And words just don't describe the joy on his face and the feeling of knowing that he had gone through this mostly to, there you go, there's Katie on the left and Miguel and me. But he had made it very clear throughout the process, the prep process and everything that he put into it, that this was all about his family and that he believed in his case, but he really wanted to go through this and to obtain a favorable ruling so that he could bring his family here. And if Miguel were on the line, I'm sure he would say the same thing. We were proud to represent him. He's a very honorable man, and justice was served. So thank you to him, and thank you to everybody, and thank you to the advocates.
Before Sarah, I just have to quickly say, Bill, you didn't cry this time. When we practiced, we all had tears in our eyes. This stuff is, it's really emotional, and it feels so good to be able to have these successes.
Thank you all. And I know as I was looking through the tiles, I know that there's so many other clients who've joined us here tonight. And you've all been on a journey that we're with you on, but have never been in your shoes, with the exception of Nemo, and just are so grateful for you being with us here tonight, and for your courage and your resilience and what is undoubtedly one of the most challenging chapters of your lives. Thank you all to all the panelists for joining us tonight. I will hand it over to Robin to close out this portion and to tell us a little bit about the breakout rooms.
Right. Thank you, Sarah. And thank you everyone who spoke tonight. It's wonderful to see you and powerful to hear your stories. And Bill, I'm glad you didn't cry, but I did a little bit. You really inspire us. It's such an honor to work with all of you. Also, thank you to Nyland Johnson for providing the technical support and virtually hosting us. We are very grateful for your partnership. I'd also like to take a moment and thank everyone on the host committee who invited friends. It's a huge success, more than 100 people, and those who are helping us raise money to support immigrants' rights tonight. Thank you to the generous donors who contributed to our matching funds and who are making your gift go twice as far tonight. And also thank you to everyone who donated the beautiful items for our silent auction. Also, again, welcome to all our clients here, and I see many volunteer lawyers who are part of this event tonight. I see your tiles out there. You are all heroes, and to borrow Nemo's words, you are the best lawyers in town, so thank you. Finally, thank you to all of you for joining us and listening to the stories tonight. You are literally saving lives with your support. You can still make a donation by texting advocates to 243-725, and you have a few more minutes for bidding on the auction. It doesn't close until 8:30. Now we're going to go to our breakout rooms. There'll be a pop-up inviting you to join a breakout room. You can click on that when you're ready and join in. We really appreciate it. It's such a pleasure to see all your faces out there, and I look forward to continuing the conversation in our breakout room. Thank you.